That there's the notice that recording is starting. Turn that off, covering my screen. That I can't remember who it was. One of our coworkers here, one of our colleagues, came into my office and we were just talking about this, that, and the other thing, and they had asked whether I used Data Wrangler. They thought it was very useful, and I had never heard of it before, and that was a few months back. So I had thrown it at Pat at one point, saying, "Is this something we might use?" And then it kind of got parked. But decided to try it and put it on and install it up on my system. So we're going to talk about it a little bit today. I think it's useful, and we'll see maybe you folks will as well. So first of all, I'm going to do a share. I'm going to take the easy way out here from and see if I can do a share of which screen should I pick? I should pick that screen and this tab, and hopefully you're seeing a full screen video of this gentleman.
I am.
You get audio?
No.
All right. Let me stop sharing because I think I have to do silly boy. Hang on. Is there a when I share? I know on Zoom you actually say include PC audio. If I say share, include sound, there's a click for include sound. So we do that. And now we go back here. And now I go, and I'm not going to do the whole 8 minutes of this, but
extension for VS Code that allows you to effortlessly interact with
just introduces it succinctly.
As you do it. Let's take a look. Data Wrangler is a free VS Code extension for exploring, analyzing, transforming, and cleaning datasets. Basically, it's a Swiss Army knife for all things datasets in VS Code. Here I have a dataset of all the Airbnbs in New York area that I want to explore and see if I can find any interesting insights. Typically, you'd start off by printing your data frame, and then from there figure out what code you need to write to explore each column one at a time. As you can see, the default data frame view from the notebook isn't giving me too much information about the dataset, and I can't even see all the data because it's truncated. This is a super frustrating aspect of working with data in notebooks. Normally, I need to go to research online for code snippets to examine more of the data, but with Data Wrangler, it will automatically do all of this for me. With the Data Wrangler extension installed, you'll now notice this new Open in Data Wrangler button under your cell whenever you have a data frame or data object. Selecting it will open up the dataset in Data Wrangler. Note, if you have a local data file such as a CSV or Excel file, you can also right-click the file and select Open in Data Wrangler without having to go through a notebook. When you first launch Data Wrangler, they'll be put into this nice grid view of your data. It's a far cry from the default table view that you just saw earlier in the notebook. We've made Data Wrangler at its core highly performant, and you'll notice how quickly it loads even over 100,000 rows of data in just seconds. You'll also notice above each column in the dataset, Data Wrangler has already calculated and provided some of the most useful and interesting statistics that data scientists look for in their data, such as missing and unique values, the frequency of values, the distribution of values, and more. So for example, we can easily see that the most common Airbnb locations are in Manhattan, followed by Brooklyn. If you wanted even more specific information about a specific column, such as maybe the average number of days in the year that an Airbnb is available with this availability 365 column, we can select it and we can see in the data summary panel on the left some more advanced statistics. So we can see the average is 141 days booked out. With this Airbnb dataset, though, we'll only want to look at Airbnbs that are actually being booked out by people. So we'll want to filter out all the noise of units that are improperly priced or messy data, such as the maximum here of somehow a place being available for over 365 days. To do so, we can use then the built-in filter function to filter out any Airbnbs that are available for the entire year or haven't had a single booking or negative. So to do so, we can click Add Filter, we can say less than, and we'll say 365. And we can also do a condition for greater than 0. And now we can see the data is filtered, and this distribution looks much better, and we can see the min and max is updated as well. Once we've gotten a good initial grasp of the data, such as what the columns are, some general distributions of some of the columns in the data, we'll want to start applying some transformations to do some cleaning on the data. When we first launched Data Wrangler, it loaded in this viewing optimized mode that we just saw. This is great for going through and quickly inspecting your data, but if we want to do some additional transformations on our data, we'll want to change Data Wrangler into editing mode. In editing mode, we can see that the UI changes a little bit, and now we can see all the built-in operations in the left-hand pane here. And this is where you'll start to see the crux of Data Wrangler and where it'll start to blow your mind. To handle the missing values in the neighborhood column that we saw earlier, we can first select it, and then go into the operation panel and search for drop missing values. As we select an operation in Data Wrangler, you'll notice that not only does it provide you a git diff-like experience on your data in the grid, so you can visually see exactly what is changing in your data set, with the red showing you which rows are being removed, but Data Wrangler also generates you the exact Python and Pandas code required to transform that data. So rather than it being a mystery of what the tool is doing and how it got there, we give the code to provide transparency to you as a user, to know that.
All right, so I think that's enough of a quick intro. Glad I just stopped my sharing there for that. So what I will be sharing in a moment, what I set up for my own environment, and I'm running VS Code on my local system, my laptop, and I'm using network file systems to pull in like the Cairo data sets. But you also can do remote shelling out to your like a VM machine and run the Jupyter notebooks if you want to do notebooks there. So let me share again, but pick my screens and I'll just poke through a couple of things that I've seen. So share. I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do. Is this my local? This one. So I have two different windows going here. There I go. This is the one I wanted. What am I doing? This one. Maximize me. There we go. So this is VS Code running, and what I did was under extensions, I had to install Data Wrangler. So Data Wrangler, it's as easy as that. You go to the extensions browser, things option in VS Code, and if you haven't installed it yet, this would have it install. And here now I've already have it installed, so I can either disable it or uninstall it. It's got some prerequisite. It also wants to suck in or suggest that you pull in Jupyter and Python, which you probably already are doing if you're using VS Code to do either Python in code files or Python in notebooks. So it was easy as setting that up. It is going to ask for a local Python pointer. It'll ask you what you want to point to on your local install if you have one. If you're doing this on your laptop, it's going to want to point it at a Python install. So you'll need that installed as well. What else can be? So let's go back to Explorer. So here's the File Explorer inside of VS Code, and I've got a few things open here. And this is just I've opened up some notebooks. Let me turn off this extension thing. Here's a simple notebook I had from a while ago that was dealing with the CSV. Just was going to open up a couple of Streamflow data sets and generate some plots. And so I brought that back up, and you can see where it's just reading in some flow data using a CSV. So notice that this is not a type CSV. If you have a type CSV, like if you just got, this, like here's a CSV file, I could just say, just by clicking on it, it brought it up, not much in there. But once you have Data Wrangler installed, you can just do Open Data Wrangler on a right mouse click, and it'll bring up, there's not much to see, there's really little in this one, but that's all it takes to bring up the Data Wrangler, and it gets marked with a DW on it. So let me close both those up because this is more interesting over here in the notebook. So I'm reading in a couple of data files, and they are CSV. And as soon as you create, you go down, and I'm doing a couple of reads, and I was dumping out some data. But as soon as you get down into generating the data structures that Data Wrangler understands, it'll automatically give you an option in your cell that says open this, open this data in Data Wrangler. So then you can just click on that. It'll pop up Data Wrangler. And once again, this wasn't a very exciting data set, but it immediately brought you into this view that tells you how many rows. And if I look at the, so here's, the number of rows. There's no missing values. If I go to mark this thing as editing, it ends up giving you things that you can do to, drop rows, do cleaning steps, formulas. If you click on a column, it'll give you statistics about the column. Where's that hiding now? Not under operations, but under data summary. Ended up giving you, just generates a bunch of things: means, deviations, 25th percentiles, maximums. So that's as soon as you open things up, you start getting that kind of view of your data. This isn't a very exciting data set, but this shows that just how easy it was for it to come up out of a notebook. I got that for free basically by just generating that data object with Data Wrangler enabled. You had to, I think when I look and see with my notebook, I think I had to, for remote tunneling, you have to explicitly enable Wrangler on your remote Jupyter server, which we're going to pop over there in a minute too. I think that I have things here. I don't know if there's any data sets in here on this one to pop in. Yeah, not there. Another nice thing I think in VS Code, I was jumping around and I was loading data outside of data sets. So if I did a file recent and I wanted to do, some Missisquoi, let's look at my flows. Did I have yeah, here's some flow data. So there's flow data. But notice it remembered that I was in here before, and the fact that I picked that file brought me up everything that I was doing with that file before, which included a Data Wrangler view of that file. So in this one happens to be, which one's my flow file? I'm on my flow file. That was something that we wanted, the flow file. So let's go, where's my Wrangler for that? It was in here before. Then we go to my recents again. File, recents. Entity. Add another one. I had Missisquoi. All right, so I need to go find this file and open it up with, so let's open folder. File, open folder. Well, better yet, file, open file. Lets me do some searching. Don't want to be there. Not then what I want to do. File, open folder. Thinking it's going to give me my selection. I did notice that actually it's right here is what it's. That's not what I want either. Am I on my remote system? So let me pop up to my other window. Yeah, I think this is the one I was in before. So one of those was my remote. So the notebook I was running was actually running on the Cairo test bed. So that was that was an example of running Data Wrangler on a notebook on another machine. So now this window is my local data. So now when I say like open folder, it's going to be my local OneDrive folders. And in here, I should find that I had a different set of recents. I'm still thinking it's going to pop this up. I do notice a little sluggish. I am, in this case, I'm running on my local machine, but I'm pulling in from a NetFiles Cairo, so it's still got some sluggishness there, as you saw, to go pull stuff. But I want to actually go to File Recents in here, and now I should find I had some different stuff to pull up. Inputs, sure, we'll go to inputs. There was a CSV, not a lot there, I bet. Oh, this was, yeah, this was actually goes back a ways to a EPSCoR project. Open with Data Wrangler on this. It was nice in that it's a data set that had a lot more columns and things going on in it. Connect to runtime, pick a runtime. Sure. All right, so see this, this has to do with one of our agent-based models. This was a bunch of parcel data. So in this model for the parcels, we ended up with a lot of this stuff is unnamed in this particular CSV, but it was information about, here's the title row down here. It just it's not in the, not being recognized just because the CSV was written, but they would the center X and Y's and acreages and attributes about the parcels that were used in there. But anytime you want to do something like, let's look at area, you click area and you go down to statistics. And this one's not going to be that interesting for me. But you get the gist. Just clicking on these files pulls them up, or if in your notebook, clicking on a data variable that was created with them pulls them up. You can see if I can find my flow data, because at least that has some statistics associated with it. Open recent flow. Colchester Reef data had anything interesting in it? Nope, it does not have anything interesting in it.
Hey, Scott, it's the first one in the second half.
In the second half, there's a flow. All right, so, but I want to do that with open recent. Can I get that to be with, so what folder is that in? That is in runtime Missisquoi in files flowdat. So let me do a file, open folder. Forecast data. That was in here. 7-day forecast. Baseline, pick a year, pick a thing, pick a run, pick some in files. Oh, actually, I need to pick a run and then pick in files, open that folder. So now we have a bunch of stuff. But notice, yeah, this is where we got because these are not CSVs. I noticed that I'm a little disappointed that I can't just tell it to open that in a Data Wrangler instance. It actually has to have say .csv on it. So I was able to pick these files up inside of a notebook by reading them, but I can't directly access them here. I did find some CSVs that I was using though. I can just find the right folder. Some CSVs. Open a data wrangler. Yeah, okay, so here was something that actually has some distributions at least. So be aware, yes, if you have like net CDFs, I haven't found a way to read that directly into just click on the file and get it to load into Data Wrangler. But if you have a notebook and you've loaded it into a data array, pandas, then it's quite happy to show you that from inside your notebook. But you can see, I'm going to say that the clicking on a column once you get something loaded up in here, basically you've got all of those statistics. And if you go into editing and you start saying, I want to do data cleanups, or I want to do, where's my, sorts and filters. The minute you start tweaking that stuff, it builds up a Panda code set that you can then cut and paste and use it in, a function to manage your data. And that's about all I've got for just demoing it. The fact that you've, got these, you could do filters, you could get rid of maxes, you could get rid of mins, get rid of drop values, whatever you'd like to do. So I'm going to stop that for a minute and get back to just us chatting about it. So has anybody else in the group ever used Data Wrangler? Alexander, were you the person that came into my office and said that you'd done that? It's not.
I've used it quite a bit, Scott.
So there you go. Let's talk to somebody that has made use of it, because I have used it for all of about an hour at this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's great. It's very helpful.
And what do you use it for? I mean, what is it?
Mostly it's just for like similar to what you were doing. If I import a data set, it's like a really nice way to view it directly in VS Code.
Do you generate the code? Do you generate snips of Python that you need to manage your data set and then save that as part of a workflow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes,
I mean, that's
maybe not as
about.
fancy as what you do. But
no,
yeah,
need to be fancy.
it's effective. Doesn't look great.
Well, I find it's if you're wondering what's in your data, and there's things that I have done in Python notebooks to like dump out describes of data sets or print pieces of it. But just being able to right click on a variable and bring up this Wrangler and say, well, here's all my columns, here's all my values, here's my mins and my maxes, and how many things have missing values. I find we're often when we're dealing with our weather data, wondering how many holes there are, where are the holes. And it sounds like this would be a really quick way to just, after we've fetched a data set from a source, to be able to just pop it in here and say, well, how clean is it? Does it have garbage values? Does it have missing values? And it's pretty much free. I mean, it definitely doesn't cost you. It's pretty much free, as in very low activation energy to use it. I mean, it's and when you're in a notebook, if you've got Wrangler enabled, it's just clicking on that button and it pops you into a view of your data set that you just loaded into a variable. So
yeah,
I expect I will be making
like
use
that
of it.
like, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I like that it just quickly shows you a distribution too of everything. So you can just scroll through your columns and see how the values are distributed.
Yeah. And I know that another thing we've done, like when we're dealing with rasters, we often say, well, why is this thing skewed so funny when I plot it? And sometimes it's because there's a no data value or a fill value that's either a high max or a low min, just mark it as garbage, surrounding cells. Filtering all that stuff out gives you a quick plot, much quicker. Pat, you got a question?
No, just a comment. So I installed that at the end of the video. The video like sold me, so I went and installed it. And and the main reason is I bet you like close to half of my searches in Google when I'm programming have pandas in there somehow.
Yeah.
Like, how do I do something in pandas?
How do I pull this value out?
Yeah. Do the search for those commands, and then it gives you the pandas code right there. I was sold, because often I forget like the columns have to go in a list and what the parameters are, and usually I can now remember like what the function is at least, but all the parameters and like what axes to put in, like axis 0 to do rows versus axis 1 for columns and all that stuff. So yeah, I also like how in the Jupyter cells it gives you that open in data wrangler option, because I often am like, oh, now I gotta like do a tail, or I have to like filter a column, and then I have to write a look. It's, like I know how to do that, and it's fine. It probably is good for my brain to exercise that, but it's really easy to click on that little thing instead.
And have it right there.
Yeah.
I did like, if you listen to a little farther into that video, he goes into quite a bit more with that Airbnb data set. For example, he wanted to do something with prices, but the prices were string values.
Hmm.
And so he says, well, click this, click that, I want this format, drop the commas, and it built up this little Python section as he did it that was 6 or 7 lines long, and it says exactly what he wanted, and it basically built the regular expressions too, because you could generalize the filter that you were building, saying, okay, that was great for that value, but now I'd like to have it be any character here and do a little bit there, and it built this rather tidy little piece of Python that I don't want to spend an hour working on doing that usually. And if I could do that in 2 minutes, clicking on a couple of visual options, I think it'll be useful for me. Anyway, I'm going to give it a dance. I'm going to see if I can make use of it. I have some data. I wish I could get it to, understand that a lot of files are CSV under the covers without having a .csv as a file type. But
yeah, I saw it didn't deal with the funny headers very well. Like if there was a header, like the one thing had a couple like parameters at the top, and all of our AM3D stuff that some of the people are working with, all those DAT files had like the 7-line header. But yeah.
But if you can get it to go through like a pandas read CSV and get your data into a variable, you're in. Once you have that variable, just click on the variable and now you're in. It doesn't work on like a data set with a whole bunch of arrays.
Yeah. Which is also a good way to use it with CSVs or Xarray, right? You can just grab the variable that you want and put it in and do a 2 data frame.
Yep.
And then you get that variable in the data frame and then use data wrangler that way.
If you try to read something that is not that is too complex, it says, hey, I can't map this Xarray data set to the required pandas array. Do this, run this 2 array on it and it'll work for you. It's like, okay, I haven't actually chased that path, but if it's going to give me hints like that, I can probably figure it out. So anyway, it seemed like it was worth the learning curve for me. It was very easy to get enabled because VS Code's got good plugin or extension management. I did notice I'm probably not going to be able to have it. The first time I opened up a remote Jupyter notebook, like a notebook on Tyro testbed, it says, hey, you can't use Data Wrangler here unless you enable it. And it actually opened up the little screen with a button that says, enable Data Wrangler in this Jupyter server. And that was it. I just hit click that button and then Data Wrangler was active in my notebook. So you have to do that one extra step when you open up a remote machine, a remote Jupyter server. So that's what I got.
Yeah, Scott, I have tried putting Data Wrangler in the Cairo remote machine and it doesn't let me.
Oh,
it says like it has to be authorized at some like higher level.
Let me see how let me pop into my other window. This is my local window.
I'll see if I can recreate it now. Probably not, knowing my luck.
Well, let me see. I did.
Because I just did it with my plain vanilla account. I mean, I definitely have super user on there, but I just did it with my plain user account and it worked just fine. So
Pat doesn't trust me, so I don't have any godlike powers there. So if I can do it, anybody can do it.
So Ryan, if you get the error again, just take a screenshot and send it my way, and I'll take a look and enable what I need to enable. But yeah, like I said, I just did it on mine and it worked with my plain vanilla no
Yeah.
fancy access account.
Let me do another really quick share just to say that. So notice there's a first of all, are you seeing me like click on Explorer?
Yep.
Okay, so notice down here there's a remote explorer. So there's one of the that's one of the steps you have to figure out is that if you want to explore, you go to remote explorer, and I already had defined one, so it found it. Otherwise, you can define a place to go. But I defined these. I just pointed it to my to the Cairo test bed, and I have two different folders there that it could pop into because I've tried them both. And you can connect in a new window. And when you connect in that new window, I don't know if that is going to come up as shared, or I've got to check it to share, and we'll see what happens. Is it thinking? Must be thinking. Maybe I've already got it open. Let me try this one. There we go. So that just popped open this other window that I had, and it remembers whatever I was doing in there, so it immediately pops in. And this is looking at some Python code, just the raw Python code. Do I have a file recent on this one? Don't think I had anything too interesting going on. I didn't succeed in doing any notebooks from there. I think I found a CSV. Downloaded data CSV. Yeah, so this was some CSV data from downloaded flows. So Missisquoi flow and the rock flow side by side. I like that it remembers what you were doing the last time you were in that folder. Every time you go into VS Code, that's a VS Code thing, not a Wrangler thing. It says I'm going to go open up that folder, and when it opens up that folder, it says, "Well, this is what you're doing last time you were in that folder." But once again, the plugins, extensions. So this is extensions on Chiral testbed. I think I didn't have to do anything too fancy.
Yeah, it actually just worked for me.
Okay.
Cool.
It hasn't in the past, but now it
second
does.
time's a charm. Yeah, I think I had to go in here and pick Data Wrangler and I had to enable it. Now you see it's already enabled, so it doesn't have to be disabled. But that's all I had to do to get it to work for me. Let me stop my sharing again. So I mean, you notice I did a split screen on that, what I had shared, and I had two flows side by side. It's nice. I could look at them and say, oh, they have the same distribution. They have very different volumes, but they're, very similar distributions, which is what you would expect if you had two streams in the same watershed area, same precipitation, that they'd have the similar peaks and similar distributions. So yeah, I'm kind of a visual guy. I like being able to quickly get a graph to see what my data looks like. So this seems like it's almost instant for me.
I've never found that remote explorer, Scott. That was a cool little trick.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way I could
could.
find Cairo testbed. How do you open Cairo testbed? Do you just open up point at the remote Jupyter server?
I just do. It's usually my recent, and when I open up VS Code, or I just go from scratch and connect again, like from the little fancy everything bar at the top.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm not a expert VS Code user, so I kind of stumble around until I find one that works. And when I found Remote Explorer, it said, well, there it goes. It remembers the directories that I had open for VS Code on that machine.
That's a slick part. I like that.
So, all right, that's what I had to offer for today's seminar. I think we had potentially coming up a discussion of regular expressions. I think that may be an upcoming session.
Bennett is working on re-updating of some like a demo he has. So we'll see if he gets that up in 2 weeks. Otherwise, we'll do something else.
Okay. And a few folks like Alexander, you've been using Data Wrangler. You could have given this probably better than I do, because you probably have much more examples in your pocket that you've used it. Anybody that's using a tool, step up, stand up, and say, hey, I'll share this, and we can all benefit.
Are there any other questions about Data Wrangler or something you saw today that someone wants to bring up, or are we good? Get some time back.
I just want to say this looks extremely helpful. So thanks for sharing, Scott. Like this is
Yeah,
game changer extension.
just a real
Thanks for
quick
that.
peek at what your data looks like. I mean, the first thing I have to do when I load something is start, dumping out the lists of variables and trying to figure out what the formats are. And, this just
Yeah,
gives it all to you right there.
yeah. Having that like almost like code snippet generator for pandas is huge because, like Pat was saying earlier, a lot of my time I feel like spent to is Googling exact pandas syntax or like what's the exact the right method to use to do these kind of like miscellaneous data operations.
And there's there's a bunch of pre-packaged functions, but there's also the ability to write your own custom functions that you can then invoke upon in, other data sets. So if you've got a mix of, your own functions you want to run on data, I think you can call something from your local utilities directory and crunch it inside a Wrangler against your data.
Cool.
So, yeah. Julian date generation or whatever else we might want to do. So anyway, that's my show.
Cool. Well, it sounds like we're out of discussion points. So we'll see you all in 2 weeks. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks, folks.